Howdy, boys and girls, and welcome back to Week 12 of your college football season, and not coincidentally, Week 12 of the Carla and Crappy Show. Hi, Carla.
Hi, Crappy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. It's Wednesday.
It's Wednesday. It's cold Wednesday, both in Nashville and in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. This is like Pennsylvania. This is like Pennsylvania cold today. It was
Okay.
early down here. I mean, normally we don't get this type of chill in the air until December or early January, and we had wind chills down in the low 30s today all day. So, no sun, just kind of gray and a little windy, and wind chills in the 30s, and it's only going to get lower from here. So,
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun weekend, I think. Yeah.
We're getting snow. We're getting snow here tomorrow. Ohio State will probably have to play in stupid cold Minneapolis on Saturday.
Ooh.
Yeah,
that's
an outdoor game these days, so that'll be something different. We're going to do something different as well, because actually, for as late as the season as it is, there are not a ton of super exciting games on the schedule. And Carla, what you kind of came up with the notion? You grabbed the current top 10, the playoff rankings, and this is such a new thing. We both thought it would be kind of a good time to maybe go through this list and see where everybody is, what this might mean, in another month when the season's over and the committee's making its picks. What is the list? Come and take us through the list.
Okay, so top 10 in order. 1 is Mississippi State. The big thing everybody's talking about this week is that number 2 is Oregon. So they moved a one-loss Oregon team ahead of number 3 Florida State.
Yeah, and that's go ahead. That raises a question that we'll get to, I think.
Right. 4 is TCU.
Mm-hmm.
5 is Bama.
Mm-hmm.
6 Arizona State. 7 Baylor. 8 your Buckeyes. 9 is Auburn, and 10 is Ole Miss.
Okay.
So that's where we stand in the top 10 right now.
I am choosing to be hopeful about the fact that that Oregon, with one loss, jumped Florida State, which is undefeated. Florida State has, I mean, they're winning. They don't really have a game left. I think they play Miami of Florida this weekend, which is nothing what it used to be. The thing that I'm encouraged about with this is that it seems like the committee is perhaps looking at how teams are now, and as an Ohio State fan, with that awful Virginia Tech loss back there in September, that's something that's pretty encouraging for me.
It is. The one thing I would be a little bit hesitant about is the fact that you're sitting behind an Arizona State and a Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
There's some dominoes that will need to fall for Ohio State to get up high enough to potentially be in that top 6, which is where you kind of want to be heading into championship weekend, because anybody in the top 6 really has a legitimate shot as things play out. And both the games we're going to talk about this week have a significant impact on where everything sits. Oregon being at number 2, I'm not overly surprised by this.
Mm-hmm.
I think where the discussion is right now is TCU and Baylor. I am actually probably in the minority and think that it's totally fine that TCU is ranked ahead of Baylor, even though Baylor won the head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
And my logic in that is this, that we've talked how many weeks in a row now about TCU really only having one bad quarter the entire season.
Right.
Baylor's loss came to West Virginia. No, it's a good West Virginia team, right? It's a good West Virginia team, but Baylor looked lackluster kind of the entire game against West Virginia, and they didn't look great against Texas. They won the game, and yes, we're learning that was a pretty good Texas defense that they played, but I mean, that's 2 games that kind of on the fringes there. So I actually agree. And TCU had the Baylor game in hand until they just took as my former choir director would say, I took a mental margarita, and they did. They took a mental margarita for the fourth quarter of that game, and were sleepwalking. if they hadn't done that, you're looking at an undefeated TCU team, and are they number one in the nation?
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting. It's an interesting question. So I'm actually okay with this. I know a lot of people are like, well, Baylor won the head-to-head, and that's what matters. I don't think so. I think the committee actually has this right. I actually think that TCU is the better team, regardless of the head-to-head. Okay. The only other thing that really kind of stands out is how, and this kind of leads us into our first game, is how unconfident are we in Mississippi State? This feels like the weakest number one team we've ever had. There's like no confidence at all over Mississippi State, which is interesting.
Not much, no. Having to prove this, and there are a couple games left. I don't know the schedule. Obviously, there's one game this weekend that we'll talk about, and then there's the Egg Bowl, which for the first time in a while will have some implications as to what happens in the postseason. The TCU thing is interesting to me also because it also reinforces the notion that what it appears we're headed to is the committee's opinion on the best teams right now, rather than we're looking at the entire season. Certainly every game matters and every game is important, but it does seem like that. When we get to the end of November, they're going to be looking at what are the best teams playing right now, and there may be, and so there may be some situations, and I don't know if it's possible actually for any SEC West team to finish without 2 losses at this point. I think that's something that could work pretty easily, and this is going to work into this because I think there's very easily a situation where a 2-loss team is going to jump a team with a better record. Yes. To get into the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. The first game that we're going to talk about, we both touched on Mississippi State. They visit number 5 Alabama. I've given up on the AP rankings, by the way. Everyone's just using the playoff rankings and okay.
Because it doesn't matter, right?
Whatever. So we got number 1 Mississippi State visiting number 5 Alabama. Alabama. We talked about not having a whole lot of respect for the team that's been number 1 for much of the season. Alabama is an 8.5-point favorite at home. How do you see this one going?
Talk about disrespecting a number 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The fact that the number 5 team is favored by more than a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. That's a big number.
It's a huge number. I think it would be one thing if that number was 3.5 or 4, but the fact that it's 8.5, that tells you how little confidence everybody has in Mississippi State right now. Mm-hmm. And I can't say that it's not unwarranted. Mississippi State has shown some signs of weakness this year. Their offense is rolling along at a great tick. Their defense is suspect, and I think you're going to see that against Alabama. I am not what's the word I'm looking for? I think the line is pretty accurate here. Mm-hmm. And here's the situation that you just talked about with a 2-loss team getting in, right? So Mississippi State, in theory, has the potential of losing 2 games in the rest of the season, right? Because Ole Miss could very well step up and win the Egg Bowl. Sure. That would not be shocking.
Ole Miss still a very good team.
Yeah, they're still a very good team, and that's a rivalry game. Throw the records out the window. Gosh, I wish I would have looked up where that game was being played. That was dumb. I should have looked that up.
You got time to get.
Yeah. So Mississippi State, in theory, could have 2 losses. We could have an Alabama team with only 1 loss, but they still have to play Auburn, and if they beat Auburn, then they have to play an SEC championship game. I was watching the Alabama-LSU game last week, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, if LSU holds on and wins this game, and Alabama beats Mississippi State, Ole Miss beats Mississippi State, Auburn beats Alabama.
But I don't know what happens then.
Then what? Right?
And you said Vanderbilt, the SEC title game.
No, that's not possible.
I don't know what happens.
What happens then? Yeah. And I was sitting there, and as much as I was like, okay, no, I think Alabama should win this game, there was a part of me that was rooting really hard for LSU to hold on because everybody asks who do I root for in these types of games. I root for chaos. Like, I would love to have seen that scenario happen because if nothing else, it's kind of like take the deck and throw it up in the air in the SEC West. Right? Right. Because then who's playing in the title game? I don't know. But I think Alabama is finally going to put an end to the Mississippi State run at number 1. I hate to say that for those of you that wear the other burgundy and gray and white, I guess. Yes. Not scarlet. I didn't say scarlet. They're burgundy.
No scarlet. Yes.
There's a difference.
Like Minnesota.
Yes. Yes. Very similar. I don't know. I think this is where the Cinderella run ends for Mississippi State. I think Alabama is playing too well right now. We talk about them, it seems, every week because they're in big games every week. Welcome to the SEC West. And, I just think Alabama playing at home, again, same thing against LSU, right? They're not intimidated by this kind of spotlight. Mississippi State has shown signs of weakness. I think Alabama wins this game. But with the way things have been rolling out in the SEC West lately, I would not be shocked if Mississippi State finds a way to win this game. That would not be out of the question, but I think Alabama's the better team. I think they win. Okay.
I think I would be shocked if Mississippi State were to win this at Alabama. I think I saw Alabama's won something like 13 straight at home. Those numbers are never. Those records are meant to be broken. Ohio State did that at East Lansing last week, of course. But it doesn't feel. It's the Alabama is too solid all the way around. The 8.5 number really feels right. It feels that's about where it should be. And I see Alabama winning this one. The other game we're going to talk about, maybe these teams don't have a direct shot at getting to the playoff. They will. They both potentially have a say. This is number 16 Nebraska at number 20 Wisconsin. Wisconsin is a 7-point favorite at home. These are two. I was trying to come up with some way to compare the Big Ten West to the SEC West, and just not coming up with anything that makes sense. But similarly messy. Just like a few echelons down the quality meters, probably. So Ohio State plays with Minnesota. As we said before, Minnesota's had a solid season, better than folks might expect from them. Nebraska and Wisconsin both are playing. Nebraska and Wisconsin kind of right where they should be. So somewhere in there is a Big Ten West champion. But it starts with this game today, or this game on Saturday. Who do you see with Nebraska and Wisconsin?
If you love running the ball, this is the game to watch. I mean, holy cow!
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. This is probably going to be your 9-7 game of the week, right? It's Abdullah versus Gordon is how they're pegging this game. And here's the thing: your Buckeyes actually need Nebraska to win this game. Because the Big Ten needs what would be 11-1 Nebraska team to go into the Big Ten championship game to face a 11-1 Ohio State. That's really the only shot that the Big Ten has at this point of getting somebody into the playoff. And nobody's talking about Nebraska potentially being in there. They're ranked excessively low right now for having a 1 loss.
I'm not talking about Idaho, that's for sure.
They're out of the top 10. You're not talking. Okay.
Well, but that's legitimate. That is a legitimate thing.
I mean, they do. They need Nebraska to help boost their resume. Here's what concerns me about this game: Wisconsin playing at home. Abdullah's nicked up. He hurt his knee against Purdue. He has practiced this week. I did do a little bit of research before this show, not much, but a little bit, to know that Abdullah has practiced, and his coordinators say that he looks good in practice. But this is a knee injury for a running back playing in the cold in Wisconsin. I think that's going to be a factor. The other thing that's going to be a factor is the fact that Wisconsin has the number 5 rush defense in the country.
Also a big factor, yes.
Yes. So we've got a team that's really good at running at run defense, with a team that is usually really good running the ball, but when your primary running back has any sort of injury like that, you kind of hold your breath a little bit. And Wisconsin, on the other hand, has a healthy Melvin Gordon in the backfield, who is the nation's leading rusher right now. The Big Ten needs Nebraska to win this game, but I think Wisconsin does. I think they've got the pieces together, playing at home, good defense. Gordon's healthy. But gosh, like, Wisconsin's pass offense is like 126th or something like that in the country. Like, you know what Wisconsin's going to do. They're going to run the football. Whether or not Nebraska can stop it is the great question. You know? But I think the line might be right in this one too. I think Wisconsin wins this game, and that's not great news overall for the Big Ten. It's going to make for an entertaining game, but I think it really hurts the Big Ten's chances of sneaking up into the top four.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I will continue to talk as though I'm supremely confident that something could work out, and something could. But there's a lot of stuff for the Big Ten to overcome, and it's not going to work in the conference's favor, or certainly in my favor, on Saturday, because I think Wisconsin, the combination of rush defense, which is legit good. And interesting thing, Bo Pelini does not beat top 25 teams on the road.
That's true.
He has not, for as long as he's been at Nebraska. I think 3-8, 3-9 is something that's close to the record that he has when he's got to play a tough road game. And this is going to be a tough road game. A big crazy crowd, very cold, very good defense, especially rush defense at home. That matches against your strength. And if Nebraska has to try to do something besides that, look out. Badgers. Badgers win this one.
9-4 Bo Pelini might be 10-3 Bo Pelini by the time this is all said and done.
True.
Because they also have to play Minnesota. So I mean, and so we joke about 9-4. They're not going to go 9-4, but they could go 10-3.
They could. Guys, that's 2 games, and those are the most interesting ones. We're going to continue to take a look at what happens with the playoff. This is as we said at the outset, this is a new thing, and perhaps it bears some examination for the last few weeks of the season.
Can I give you a gut reaction game?
Please.
Because it's my week to do that.
Yes, it is.
In one sentence, number 9 Auburn at number 15 Georgia. Georgia.
Nebraska.
Interesting.
Auburn will come around for the Iron Bowl.
Gosh, that would destroy the SEC. I love it.
Well, yeah, and that's sort of kind of what I'm shooting for here. But the bits and pieces of the game that I saw last weekend, just not impressed. Auburn is supremely talented, but for some reason they don't make any consistent. This is way more than one sentence.
Okay.
So they don't maintain a consistency, which especially in that conference or that division you need to have. And there's the fact that Georgia, which is a team we've all kind of written off, also supremely talented, playing at home. Perhaps this is a chance that they have, the Bulldogs have, to sort of resurrect what has crumbled around them. So Georgia, I'm good with that.
It's an interesting argument. Does the SEC actually need Georgia to win this game? Because you need a good opponent in the SEC championship game.
Right.
And Georgia's resume has faltered. In fact, I think right now, actually, Missouri would be the representative for the SEC East. I think. I don't know if it was true last week. I don't know. I forgot to look to see if it was true this week.
Okay.
But the SEC would hurt if Missouri is in that game.
Yes.
Because the Missouri team with a home loss to Indiana. And so SEC West is cannibalizing itself. It needs a good opponent in the SEC championship game. Does it need Georgia to beat Auburn? And then what happens if the SEC West collapses in on itself? Can the committee leave out the SEC? I don't think they can. I don't
That'd
think
be
it's
awesome.
possible. It would be.
Man, that'd be awesome.
We could be looking at every team in the SEC having 2 losses.
And then I think, unfortunately, we do get back to the thing where the committees actually pay attention to who's playing well at the end of the season. And so there's a lot of room to give us a benefit to the doubt to a 2-loss team from the SEC West.
I think they're too good to. I think that the division is too good to leave the SEC champion out, regardless of how many losses there are. But gosh, that would be fun. I kind of hope it happens because I would like to see what the committee does.
We will find out.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
We will find out in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Carla, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy both 2 games that we have. Although Ohio State plays at noon, so you could watch that one.
Oh, that's good. That's good. That gives me something to watch. I think in one of the SEC games is at 3:30, so that'll be good. I think is Auburn Georgia at 3:30.
I think Alabama and who are they playing again? It was
Alabama Mississippi State. Is it 3:30?
I think so. Yes.
Huh. Okay.
But anyway, enjoy your games, guys. You do the same, and we will see you back here for week 13 in next week. Have a good one, guys. See you.
Thanks. See you.